But we are going to park last week's affair just now, and we're going to look ahead to the games from this week. We're going to go in chronological order, and we're going to start with the opening game of the weekend, which is Italy against Argentina. This is in Treviso, interestingly enough. I love this. I love that they're going to their
north to the spiritual homeland.
Exactly, to where rugby is. They had their game in the Stadio Olimpico against the All Blacks. That's great, but there's no sense, not filling that stadium in a place where rugby isn't even that big to begin with. Bring it to its homeland, and you're going to get like a packed atmosphere full of people who are really appreciative of finally being able to host their national team.
And a venue that treats Italian teams a little better than the Stadio Flaminio for the most part as well. They tend to, it's a tough place to go up in Treviso and win.
Ask the Bulls about it.
Yeah, indeed.
No, indeed. There's definitely promise for Italy in this game. The referee is going to be James Dolman of New Zealand, with Paul Williams and Ben Blaine on the sidelines, and Brendan Pickerel in as the TMO.
Yeah.
The first time these two sides ever met was 1978. Italy ran out winners. Both of these sides sort of late bloomers into Tier 1.
True.
Italy obviously had that great side in the 90s. Overall, I think Argentina have a 25-16 record over the Italians. It's 16-5.
16-5-1, because they played 22 times in total, which is not too many. The first time was 1978. The second time they met was 1987. So they're like a big old gap. And more recently, they have played a bit more times. The longest win streak though is 7 in a row, and that is still active. The Pumas have won the last 7 meetings between them, and there has been a gulf in recent years in the professional era as well. Italy's last win came over Argentina came in 2008 by a scoreline of 13-12. But the last time these two faced each other was in November 2017, and Argentina won that one 31-15. So the more recent form would suggest that the Pumas are the superior side, and certainly the world rankings would suggest that too. However, as you've made no secret about, Argentina aren't attacking particularly well, and Italy showed encouraging signs against the All Blacks.
They're not attacking at all.
They're not even attacking at all, whatever about well or otherwise.
No, I mean it's got some promise. Looking at it from Italy's point of view, they have named their side. They've got some promising players. Riccioni at tight head is going to have a big job against that Pumas scrum.
They were struggling in the scrum against the All Blacks last week, so they'll need to tidy that up, because the Pumas do that well,
and did against France with Gomez Cadea back. They've got Negri and Lamaro in the back row, very good, very tenacious. They showed some great defensive chops last week, and they've got
captain this week as well.
That's right.
Rewarded for good form.
Yeah, he's a fine player, and they've got a pretty razzle-dazzle looking backline. Varney and Garbisi, the young halfbacks, excellent. Minozzi back in there, great to see. Still got all of the flair, along with Monte Ioani, who's just a world-class finisher. The centres, Luca Marisi and Juan Ignacio Brex, can play well certainly, and Padovani on the other wing as well. It's a solid team, and last week they showed what they haven't showed in a long while, which is good defensive acumen, which I believe,
good kicking acumen from 9 as well. Varney's boot has much improved, and he was actually causing some problems to DMAC and the All Black back three, and they should persist with that this time, because we know of Argentina that if you kick to them, the kind of risk is not, certainly compared to the All Blacks, which they managed to do very well. They can kick even half as accurately to this Puma side. The risk is relatively low of them penetrating you off it. So try and play territory, try and be sensible. But they definitely want to kick on, because they don't need to be too reverential or too respectful of this Puma side. They can kind of go after this. They are the home side. They will be up in Treviso. I would like to see them kind of take it to them, because Garbisi runs a nice offense, as you were citing in the back three. There's danger. If they can be the team with a bit more shape and a bit more hustle in the middle third, and couple that with a good kicking game, they could really start applying some scoreboard pressure.
The kicking game matters enormously, because as much as I love to deride this Pumas team, they are very good defensively, and we just watched them the other day really frustrate and harry a very good French offense. True. This is not as good an offense as that. Not at all. So I think, as you say, just be patient, go to the boot. A bit like Romania did, just kind of force the Pumas to play. They don't want to play at all. They want to be the side forcing you to play, but when they're actually the bigger dog, you can kind of flip that script on them and all of a sudden leave them blunt. So I think, as bizarre as it seems, Italy need to make this about their defence, and let's see what this Pumas team can do. I think crucial is going to be set piece. I mean, we watched We watched them get creased at the maul. The maul was the in that the All Blacks found that worked best for them.
But the scrum was also reversing too.
It was
untidy everywhere.
Was not great. And the Pumas with your Montoya tries, it's one thing that they can do very well.
And the scrum penalties that amount to 3-pointers as well. They are very rudimentary in that regard. But if you can't stop them, or if you can't be solid there, then they won't be able to get anything off here. And unfortunately, even if they are managing to kick well and force the Pumas to try and run the ball back at them and tackling well all through that, none of that will amount to anything if they can't at least secure their own ball, and if not, try and be competitive in the set piece area as well.
Yeah, exactly. Just frustrate them. But the main thing from a Garbisi point of view, Garbisi again is a young man. He wants to play ball.
Yeah.
That I appreciate that, but he needs to show a bit of maturity and guide his team down the field. Yeah. And if they can frustrate the Pumas to the point where you're just exchanging kicks with them, then all of a sudden the Pumas might be forced to try and do something. That's when your defence goes to work.
Or you might find in those tennis exchanges that the defence is less structured, and then there's a chance to run.
And it potentially gives a chance for Monte Ioane or Matteo Manozzi to get a ball in a bit of space, much more than your multi-phase does against a defence that will likely have you outmatched.
Yeah, particularly with the centres they've picked in terms of pace. I think they'll be gobbled up once it goes outside of 10 pretty quickly, I'd imagine. Just even judging by what they were doing in the Six Nations and last week against the All Blacks, the passing isn't quite accurate enough to unpick the best defences, and the Pumas are a tier 1 side with a very, very good defence.
Yeah,
very, very good.
No question. But this, Italy want to make it dirty. They need a big show from Riccioni. They need a big show from those two locks, Canone and Cisse, who often find themselves outmatched. They need to show up. They need to make it physical. They need to make it awkward. They need to turn this into a Benetton game.
Yes.
This needs to be 3-3 at half time.
Yeah,
and the Pumas not knowing what they're going up to. And it takes the Italians fronting up physically, but we watched them cause the All Blacks problems. If you can cause the All Black offense problems, you should have no issues swallowing up this Pumas attack.
It's true. It's just whether they can back up a big emotionally charged performance with another one, whether they can kind of believe that they have it in them to win the game, which is often an impasse for tier 2 sides. If they play with a little too much respect for their opponents, then the Argentinians, even with a stuttering offense, might be able to grab a cheap try or two from a missed tackle, and then it might be a bridge too far. So it does need to kind of be very accurate from the Italians, and they need to be patient. Very young halfbacks to try and implement such a patient game, but they do have to try and do that.
Benetton is definitely the template for this team. We've seen that promise.
We've seen if they play a Benetton game, they have a much better chance than if they play a Zebra game.
Yeah, that's right. But it's on the forward pack really to step up and be physical and not be shocked by the likes of Lavanini and Kramer and Matera in the contact.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, from a Pumas point of view, as much as I want to see them develop an offense, I'm nearly given up. I think what Ledesma wants to do is to own the physical contact area in this game, to bully them, to be dominant at scrum, dominant at line out maul, and just to win the collision zone. It's a fun game for them. Listen, they're up against a side they're better than, which is a rare enough thing.
It's only the second time this year. There's that Romania game, which is not a great form guide in terms of that, but this is the second time this year they're playing a team that they outrank. Which is just as a little the pinch of salt that you do have to throw on Pumas showings each year is that they do play the best sides in the world, and if they're a little bit off, they look awful. And this season they have looked awful, but potentially you might see a gulf in class here somewhat if they can string a few things together. But
it was the game against Wales in July when they played that sort of second string Welsh team. They just the way they worked around not having an offense was just to own the physicality with that sort of back five of the scrum and your Montojas and your Gomez Cadeas, but just Lavanini in the contact battering folks, Matera battering folks, Facundo Issa just winning those contact areas. Then all of a sudden your rudimentary offense can be effective because it's just about the quality of those collisions.
Just sit down the first attempted tackle every time, and then you automatically have numbers. You just created them by sitting a guy down. They will look to boss the physical side of it, but mind the discipline, which is obviously a note that should be written on their notice board or tattooed to some of these boys' foreheads.
Kramer spent another 10 minutes in the bin last week.
They're just collecting yellow cards for the crack. They should feel no need to be pushing the edge so much against an Italy side that they will likely be outmatching anyway physically. So just there's no need to jump offside. There's no need to give away reckless off the ball hits. Try and mind the P's and Q's, and they should have too much. The other thing that I like, as much as we're talking about their offense improving, realistically their kicking game should be better than it is.
Well, sure, they have a winger at 10.
Yeah, no, I know, but between their halfback and their Buffelli at fullback and all of this, they just aren't kicking proactively enough. They aren't dominating. They aren't even getting territory at all. Like, they're not getting involved in the territory or possession game because their kicking is so loose. And for a team built on the mould that they are, where they're tidying up their scrum, getting their line out maul drive going, they should be looking for 50-22s. They should be slotting Big Boot Buffelli in on first receiver when they're in their own half to try and dial in a 50. Like, clever things like that.
As you point out, they've been playing sides they're better than, and their solution to the problem has been to soak and defend, only without a counterpunch. But they now they're in a position where the onus is on them. They're playing a team that's worse than them, and it's a potential backfire of a game plan if they want to go Springboks on this, launch the ball deep and just hope that your defence wins the game, and that Minozzi or Garbisi are foolish enough to run it back at you, and then you get your jackal steal, and then you get your 3 points.
I think it's more likely that if you can dictate a kick tennis game against young Italian halfbacks that occasionally can be loose in the kicking game, if you can get them kicking back and forth, and then you have Buffelli be able to dial in that 50-22, because that'll result in a Montoya try if you're accurate from there. Like, that'll be the recipe for them, rather than, like, ideally, yes, you'd like to see them with a bit more shape on the multi-phase. That's kind of a
on the first phase, man. On any phase.
Any phase, I know.
I would love to, just one good phase.
There's a little bit of shape when they do phase one, but it's the...
What is the shape when they do phase? I haven't seen it.
No,
like,
I've seen them line up with a pullback on, and whether they hit it or not, they take it up. But then from then on, it is just pure improv. Like, it's crazy to watch at a tier 1 level, because like we were frustrated watching Ireland with our rudimentary shape and our poor passing last season, but we were nothing compared to what the Argentinians are doing there. There's no plan.
They're refusing to attack.
Yeah, like, there's just none at all. After 1 or 2 phases, it's all off 9, it's all hit ups, because there's nothing else on. Like, if you spin it out to 10, he's got nothing.
And that's where they could find themselves in a hole, is if they do go to that, if they manage the field such that they're generating these attacking situations where they have the ball in and around the 22, you can't realistically kick it away from there. And all of a sudden,
if drop a bomb in the end zone,
well, all of a sudden you're going to get, a Lamaro steal after a few more carries, if Italy can sort of manage the gain line such that
they don't fall off a tackle or something, let them in. Yes, for sure. Well, it may end up just sit them down with a ferocious kind of Kramer carry, and then he's in, or
just to play, because the other thing is, like, as critical as I am of this Pumas team, like, I think the players are still quality.
That's where the criticism comes from.
That's what's depressing me. Like I was saying earlier on, you had, like, there was a couple of moments in that game against France where, like, De La Fuente got the ball, and he did, like, there's nothing to his left, there's nothing to his right, but he puts a bit of footwork on, gets a hand free to no one, because there's no one running off him, God no, and then down he goes, just resigned to the fact that he plays in this terrible offense. I just don't understand the lack of shape. I think it's a Ledesma criticism more than it's an actual
any of these players, because they've rotated players in and out, and it's still no shape, so it makes
they do have enough quality that if they can just win a few contacts and sit down the Italians, they should be able to put 1 or 2 plays together to score a few tries. But I don't think they'll have it all their own way. I don't think it's going to be a perfect show.
No,
I'm convinced as well that Italy seem to be a little tougher this year.
Yeah.
So are Argentina going to score 30? It's a brave call,
we haven't seen it all season. Maybe if Italy are that poor, but I don't know if they will. I'd predict maybe Argentina by 8 or 9 in a scuttery one.
22 points to 10.
22 points to 15 or 14, something. I'd like to see 14, but it might be 12 or 15, but in kicks. It will be disappointing again when
are the Italians going to be able to score against this defense? Because the flip side is that the Pumas defense is
very good. I do think it'll be a Pumas win slightly, but an ugly one, because I think both sides will get some stuff off, and Argentina will be frustrating despite dominating things, and hopefully the ball breaks to Monte Ioane once or twice and we get to see
a game of it. I mean, I'd love to see the Italians dig one out in Treviso. It's high time that they got a win against a tier 1 side. It's been a while.
I think the last one was Scotland in 20 2010 or something.
2010? No. Sure, they've beaten us since then, and France twice.
Right. No, sorry, yes, it was the Springboks. I looked it up last week.
The Springboks.
They beat
the Alistair could see his Springboks. That was just handing out wins to everybody.
Yes, that was it. I'm trying to remember that one. That was very, very much it. That was the same time that we put a ridiculous score on them in that November. Yeah, I think the last throws of that particular tenure, it's a completely different Springboks that anyone will be facing now. But as far as this game is concerned, I think Argentina will edge it, but not be totally convincing.
I'll say 20 points to 6 Argentina. No faith in them. No faith in this to be a good game.
16-12 Argentina.
There you go. That's a better game.
Yeah, I like a good game. That is
4 kicks for the Italians.
Yes, annoying 4 kicks for the Italians. But with that we will move on. Thank you very much for watching that video. If you're new here, please like and subscribe for more content, and leave a comment down below as well, because we really enjoy the chat and hearing your views. Thank you.